Hi everyone, welcome to Internal Control Talks. Our goal with this podcast is to help you thrive as internal control professional by bringing you the best advice from industry leaders. Today, we will talk about practical applications of artificial intelligence and digital transformation as a driver for innovation in the internal control world with Trajano Leme. Trajano combines an extensive IT and internal control knowledge and managed several extremely successful projects using artificial intelligence and robotic process automation to improve processes at Pernod Ricard, where he is currently working as a head of internal control and internal audit for South America. He also authored 2 books on information technology, and he has been a university professor in the disciplines of business intelligence, requirements management, and software testing for 10 years. Trajano, thank you for joining us and welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here.
Oh, hi, Cecilia, and thank you very much for the invitation. Greetings to everybody, to all of our audience, and it's a pleasure to be here. Sharing thoughts, and I'd say better than that, experience that's have successful in my perimeter, in my scope.
Great, fantastic. I am excited to talk about artificial intelligence and robotic process automation with you today because there are so many talks around artificial intelligence and how it will change the GRC world. However, only very few companies have adopted this new technology in reality. And I know you are a pioneer in the field of practical application of AI and RPA. As a first question, I would like to ask you to clarify for us the difference between RPA, robotic process automation, and artificial intelligence.
Very good. This is such a nice question because there are a lot of acronyms, and sometimes people who are not totally familiarized with that may feel intimidated with that, and believe me, they shouldn't, because the concepts, and I would say even the technology itself, are not so difficult to get the main points. So I would say that RPA, Robotics Process Automation, is a software. At the end of the day, is a software, a suite that you can install in your own notebook, and the software runs like a robot, imitating, and I'm saying literally speaking, human actions. The easiest example is, imagine an Excel macro where you save steps within a spreadsheet. But macros are limited to Excel perimeter. An RPA software is not limited just to one tool. You can save your steps to perform some tasks, which can involve opening a website or extracting reports, merging them, or searching for differences in those reports using Excel, and then open a specific software like an ERP, for example, to data entry and etc. So the main idea of the RPA is to robotize and not automatize. It's a very subtle difference to robotize repetitive tasks, boring tasks that nobody wants to do, but those tasks that need to be done. Otherwise, companies' process may fail. On the other hand, we have AI, which is a kind of solution that can interpret data and recommend decisions. I would say that AI is the mix, the ability to gather some different features which can comprehend cognitive research or machine learning or natural language processing or image interpretations, image recognition, and others. Finally, AI is an algorithm that can produce insights and analytics above the human capabilities. Another way of thinking about these two technologies is RPA is a highly process-driven. It means you need to have a major process before implementing an RPA solution. Mm-hmm. Differently, AI is a data-driven solution. It is something not automatized, but dependent on high volume of data. AI is a set of technologies where you can handle terabytes of data, and the machine will analyze, and depending on the purpose, AI will provide you insights, patterns, outliers, trying to anticipate what will happen. It seems magic, but it's not magic. It's science. It's data science. As I said before, AI is a set of technologies. I would say that is fair enough to consider you are applying AI just using one of them. You do not need to apply all of these features. For example, cognitive solution. It is just a concept. More important in this matter is to use one of those technologies and let you and your company leave the experimentation, learn and take the benefits quickly.
Well, that's very, very clear, and thank you for making that difference. I think that's very important as a starting point for our discussion. And before we go deeper, especially in our conversation around practical applications of artificial intelligence. So about 1 year ago, you delivered the implementation of Alex, an artificial intelligence chatbot built with the IBM Watson technology and using a WhatsApp interface for Pernod Ricard. Can you explain us what Alex does?
For sure. As you said, Alex is a chatbot solution. Behind the scenes, we have the IBM Watson as our cognitive and our AI interpretation engine. And the user interface is the WhatsApp. For the users, just WhatsApp on the front end. Well, that said, I can say that Alex was born to help all Pernod Ricard Brazil employees in their day-to-day questions in the context of HR, accounts payable, and procurement. I almost forgot taking about sales team because our sales team is spread around the country. There are some content especially designed for them. For example, they can check the status of the sales order status or their commercial agreements information. On top of that, we have all compliance matters, especially internal policies. Alex learned a huge content about these areas, and he's able to answer questions 24/7. Something like, "Hi Alex, what is the limit to meal reimbursement during business travels?" Or, "Alex, I lost my corporate credit card. What should I do?" If we don't have Alex, people need to read that very, very heavy policies, too much pages. And Alex is here to answer specific and directly questions.
Amazing, amazing. That's highly applicable and so useful to enhance compliance and internal controls in the processes. So how did it come the idea of applying AI to improve these specific areas of the business?
Yes, it's a very interesting question. The common excuse to explain something that got wrong is, "I didn't know." It's what everybody say at the end of the day. And one of the hardest things to do in internal control and / internal audit is to determine whether that event was an error or a fraud. Trying to break down my problem, I did a root analysis calls and come back to this excuse. I didn't know. Okay, so how to let people know anytime fast, avoiding them to read that 30 or 40 pages of policies. This is where Alex came. I took HR policies, accounts payable policies, our travel and entertainment policies, our procurement policies, and I thought Alex to answer all of these questions. Simple like that.
Which results did Alex deliver and which impact they had on the company's internal controls?
Yes, I had a set of deliverables in my mind. Consolidate content, perpetuate knowledge, foster agility, provide independence to the employees, increase their productivity as well. At the end of the day, make the organization a light organization. And Cecilia, based on that, and after 1 year, I can split the results into different lanes now to you. In the quantitative pillar, we had more than 42,000 dialogues in 1 year.
Amazing.
For a company which has 400 employees, it shows the impact that Alex has in the company, the employees day to day. And I can say that we saved approximately 20 hours per month from HR team, more than the internal control, the the protecting value benefit, Alex provides a way to relieve these people to do that supporting task. So we saved 20 hours per month from HR team, plus 25 hours per month from accounts payable team, and I would say more 15 hours per month from sales administration team.
Amazing. That's fantastic. Great cost saving as well.
Yes. It's the cost savings, the first part of the iceberg, that we can see. Under the water is all these protecting value company, the internal controls, first line of defense as well. On the other side, in the qualitative terms, I can say with confidence, that Alex is now embedded within the organization. I think this is a good word, embedded. Everyone's talking to Alex. Sometimes during the weekends, new employees found a single touch point to solve their questions. People were asking Alex before taking actions. It's a very good thing. And that's the turning point. People need to do something, but they are not sure or so sure about the procedure. So at the end of the day, ask Alex. It's part of the culture. It's becoming part of the culture. Improving the employee experience, it's something very good for the company in terms of reputation. The brand of the company.
I'm guessing you also get a lot of data back from Alex on the question asked by employees. And that must be a massive amount of data because of the amazing number of dialogues that you had. You mentioned 42,000. Which were the key takeaways that you learned from the questions asked to Alex?
Yes, definitely. To be honest with you, we are not doing much with the data. There are some reasons for that, but I can see many opportunities to use in the future. Let's say you can use machine learning research or data scientists to mining the data and discover patterns. For example, what are the common words for employees, and later create an action plan to simplify some policy or create a specific training for them. Other example, maybe using algorithms to analyze the raw data. I would say it is possible to detect the intention from someone to leave the company based on their past conversation with Alex. Imagine that. Based on some frequent questions and the past real events, made possible to identify employees who will leave the company in advance. Amazing, no?
That's mind-blowing. Yes, definitely. And actually, sometimes it's quite difficult to gather consistent feedbacks on processes or procedures to understand exactly what employees are struggling with, which are the most recurrent questions, and so on. So some companies, I've seen in my experience, keep a manual log of these questions received and the process pain points to use them to improve the process. But in most of the companies, there isn't a system in place to consistently improve the existing processes. So having access to such database of questions could be extremely useful to make processes and procedures user-friendly and reinforce them effectively.
Indeed, Cecilia. But for me, so far, the main idea is to ensure the proper usage of our policies. I'll give you one short example. When you ask to Alex, "Hi Alex, please can you send me the travel insurance policy?" Okay, it's okay. The answer comes in seconds. But for me, as head of internal control, I'm really interested in what happened later. I mean, Alex is able, after a very simple setup, to send a message sometime later and ask the employee, "Hello, John. You've asked me about travel insurance policy, and I sent you. Do you have an additional question, or it was enough? Don't forget to have your insurance. It is your responsibility." Sometimes come answers with additional comments that I will use to improve Alex content.
That's definitely a great functionality that you have, like to do follow-up questions as well. And I'm sure it helps you to make Alex answers more and more accurate over time as well. So how long did it take to implement Alex?
It was a 3 months project, but it has not finished after that. A chatbot, when a company wants to take into seriously, demands few changes in its way of working, in its mindset, or even in its structure. I would say it's a journey, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's talk about this journey. Which were the key steps of the implementation of Alex?
Very cool, this question. Many people ask me that. The magic, what happened behind the scenes,
Yeah, exactly. It's always interesting to understand also, from the perspective of our audience, like what it exactly takes to achieve something like that.
Yes, definitely, absolutely, and I'm very glad to share this experience. I would say that there are some very important concepts here. First, focus on the 2 or 3 top issues or pain points or challenges you have. Don't fall into the pitfall or trying to do everything. Second, top pain points from what perspective? From the employee's perspective, not from the internal auditor perspective. It's something that you need to think. It's a consumer-centric mindset. If you start a project with the internal audit perspective, I dare to say it will fail. There will be not appeal or engagement. There will not be sexy to the employees. Employees, in my case, need to see the value in the solution. This is the first part of the concept. After identifying the pain points and the correct perspective or the proper perspective, in my case, I have gathered a small project team. First, presenting them the solution and inviting them to be part of this transformation. People want to be part of these transformations. Here, I recommend our audience to see some videos from Simon Sinek. Simon Sinek is a guru from these transformations or communications matters, regarding the golden circle, specifically the golden circle. It is a very important concept to sell an idea. I used that and have engaged those people to work with me. Their job was to provide me the top questions. Again, first, the top pain points on their perspective. And once chosen that, off the top, it is a funnel trying to catch what really matter. They have provided me the top questions and, of course, the proper answers because they are the experts on that.
Mm-hmm.
Third one, after that, I have invited other small group of people who never had heard about the project to use the Alex in their WhatsApp and ask as many questions as they can. I did it in 3 sessions with 3 different groups. For me, this 3/3 was fair enough. And the idea is to get different ways of asking things because it's not a robot, it's not a system, it's a cognitive way. People think on the same things in a different way with different approaches, And after that, I have trained Alex, The last step, Alex was able to be presented to our company, to everybody.
Yeah. Well, that sounds great and relatively straightforward. However, I am sure that you also face a number of challenges during these 4 steps. Which one would you say it was the most significant one to overcome?
Yes, I have overcome some challenge, some very interesting challenge, And since this is a very new technology, I didn't have the usual support from the board, the usual support with those very traditional projects, where you create first a business case and then engage everybody and you see the financial aspects or the qualitative benefits and etc. It was not a big project with a robust business case. In my case, aimed to save millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
It is a new concept, a road to lever the employee experience and to lever our digital transformation. Therefore, I would say it was a challenge for me to get support and a bit of money to take the project into life.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious to hear more about the reactions to Alex. How did top management reacted to the project, and how was it received by company employees once was presented to them?
The reaction was very good because I have connected Alex with the digital transformation roadmap, our digital transformation roadmap. So it was not something you throw in the company. Try to use it. No, it was not the point. It was connected with our digital transformation. And it was not just an internal control project. It was bigger than that. And nevertheless, it is super important to keep the engagement. The high level of energy we usually get after those sort of launches. How to do that? Keep the pace with stats report of the usage of the tool. I did it with the top management, showing every month the evolution, the progress, the interactions increasing, the rate of success in the Alex answers. I would say this is the best way to increase the engagement, to show the value and this kind of thing. From the employee side, employees were excited. I believe this is the best word, first because it was a brand new technology and people love new technologies. Second, because the tool really helped them. Now Alex is part of the company. People are proud to have Alex. When people have conversations with their colleagues, even from other companies, they feel Pernod Ricard is ahead of others. Pernod Ricard is on top of that. Who doesn't like to ride in the crest of a wave in the pioneering process?
Yeah, it's a great feeling being part of a company who is ahead of time, let's say. It's great to hear that the reactions to Alex were overall positive in your company. However, I'm sure you also faced some objections at a certain point. Can you talk about that and how you managed to overcome such objections?
I would say that objections were not exactly related to the technology per se. I prefer to share with our audience the element of any change management process. It belongs to any kind of project. When an internal controller needs to implement a new set of controls, or when he or she wants to implement a new way of working, or to implement a new technology. These elements are common in any kind of transformation. And I would like to share a concept best known for SCARF. And SCARF stands for status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. Everyone, no matter the position in the company, will show one or more of these elements when a new thing is coming, and I faced these things with Alex and RPA and other kind of projects. These elements are the visible behavior of objection. But it's a normal reaction. We need to treat that reaction as a normal or regular reaction. No, it's because it's part of the human being. Better to face in this way rather than consider the objectors simply as enemies. They are not enemies. It's part of the human being. I have overcome these obstacles just trying to understand what really matter to each individual. When you are attempting to implement something new, try to understand how each element of the SCARF for each stakeholder will be impacted. In my case, in the case of Alex, how the status of each one will be impacted. People from HR, which may consider that they have the power of the possession of the information. From now, the information will be public, delivered by a robot. How they feel. I had to present new possibilities in terms of status, like you will be the only one to feed Alex. I had to improve or to change the status pointer from the old school way of working to a new approach with a new mindset, to keep them calm. After that, there's the certainty. How those people may feel about one robot doing their jobs. Maybe they can think, oh, I will lose my job. It's a very common statement. It is important to show them that there are more important things to do instead of answer the same questions every day to the same people. Autonomy means to fear of losing control of those events. While those people may think that Alex will take their autonomy, it is exactly the opposite. Alex will relieve them from these repetitive tasks, boring tasks, and increase their autonomy to do more strategic tasks. And to not be, repetitive, it is the same approach with relatedness and fairness. In summary, to wrap up this statement, overcome any kind of challenge is overcome the fear of others at the end of the day. SCARF model is a very useful tool on that.
I'm glad you mentioned this framework, Trajano, which I also use a few times myself when suggesting significant changes in processes. And as you just said, I also think that's a framework which is highly applicable to any process improvement and an extremely useful perspective for internal control professionals. For whoever is not familiar with the SCARF model, it is a framework developed by David Rock in 2008 based on neuroscience researches that can help you minimize perceived threats and to maximize positive feelings with the aim to collaborate better in the workplace, to coach people, to provide more effective training and feedback. I'm going to include also a link to a few resources on this topic under the video so that the one of you who never heard about that have the chance to check it out. Trajano, to wrap up our conversation on Alex, I am curious to hear which were the most significant takeaways from this experience for you?
For me, is that innovation and creativity belongs to everyone. It's not only a privilege of a small group of people in their colorful and funny offices. People in charge of internal control and internal audit are, which I dare say, not tend to innovate, should surrender to this wonderful process of creation. I did it. I can say it is amazing. The world is changing faster and faster, Cecilia. Almost all transactions are digital, and internal auditors need to use that with AI tools in order to identify suspicious transactions, maybe image recognition in other amazing thing. Imagine hiring a robot to analyze marketing advisory before launching them, trying to catch non-compliance elements. I work in a beverage company. I need to follow up some rules, strictly some rules, The takeaway is not the numbers or the achievements by itself. Is the perception that in our function, internal auditors and internal controllers, we have a role to play in the digital transformation, in the pioneering, in bringing new ways of look to the same old issues. I believe that's it.
Great. Let's talk about RPA now. Based on your experience, how can robotic process automation be leveraged by internal control professionals?
Yes, RPA is other great kind of solution. As we discussed earlier, RPA is a way to mimic human actions, and you can apply RPA to those repetitive tasks. Internal auditors tend to use RPA to help them in the data gathering process to manage high volume of data in an easy way. For example, imagine convert a lot of PDF files into text, extracting pieces of data and access some websites, and again, extract data in a structured way. It's a very common thing. It's important, but in my opinion, you should not forget the starting point when the transaction occurs. Implementing RPA solution in the bank reconciliation process, for instance, or a supply data entry, or an invoice entry checking to the related purchase order is where, for me, the real value occurs. It is more crucial to reduce errors, even bad intentions, in the beginning of the transactions, rather than to speed up the internal audit process. Because the internal audit occurs later. It's the third line of defense. The potential fraud, in this case, already occurs. RPA is a lever to reduce the fraud possibility.
Yes, I totally agree. Prevention is definitely better than cure, and process automation can definitely help to implement stronger processes and more reliable controls in the first place without waiting that internal audit catches. Also, I think that one of the crucial skills for auditors and internal control professionals in the next few years will be to actually be able to understand RPA and audit it. Because the more the process will be automated, the more crucial it will be to validate the controls around it, from the configuration of the RPA itself to understanding who can make changes to it and who can approve these changes and so on. So from an internal control standpoint, this is going to be absolutely crucial.
Yes, you're right. Our audience needs to be less scared about the technology and really embrace it. There is a funny website called "Will Robots Take My Job?" You can find it in www.willrobotstakemyjob.com, where you can type some functions, and there will be a percentage of likelihood of those occupation, whether will be replaced by robots or no, or not. Of course, it is just a number. It's a funny thing based on criteria that I really don't know. But on the other hand, I'd say that it should work. It should work as a yellow flag for those internal auditors and internal controllers who are not embracing the technology. It is a non-returning path. There was an HR director here in Brazil who said me something some time ago: to not be replaced to a robot, don't act like a robot. Something to think about it. Don't you agree?
Absolutely, yes. Also, personally, I'm looking forward to these changes as they will significantly cut the repetitive tasks in our jobs, which are the most boring, and allow us to focus on the strategic side of our work, which is more interesting and definitely more rewarding. Which advice will you give to fellow internal control professionals who wants to explore the opportunity to use EI and RPA to strengthen internal controls in their organization?
My main advice is to be willing to change the traditional and reactive internal control approach, which is, based on controls, a bit of education, and then action plans, and then set responsible and due dates. To change it to a new proactive approach. The old one is important, but needs to work with a new approach, this new mindset. In terms of behavior, I'd say to be curious, to be open-minded, to challenge the way of working. That's it.
Great, thank you very much. And I have one last question. Do you have any advice on how can internal control professionals navigate the current offer of artificial intelligence and RPA solution on the market?
Yes. Many companies are willing to run experiments with no cost. So use it. Simple like that. Contact those companies in your perimeter. Look for which kind of solution they offer. Call them to a coffee in your office and present your problem, a very single and specific problem you need to solve. Organize them a no-cost use case, a pilot to learn, to check the feasibility. The only cost, Cecilia, you are going to have is your time. Our time is very valuable, but I assure that in the end of the process, this will be one of the most profitable investments you are doing in yourself.
That's a brilliant idea and a very actionable one for anyone, even the professionals who are less comfortable with these innovative solutions. Trajano, thank you very much for being with us today to share your experience with practical application of EI and RPAs to strengthen internal controls. I think that was an extremely interesting chat, and I hope that was a great value for our audience as well, and that they will start to dip their toes into the artificial intelligence and the RPA world and explore potential application to their own companies. Thank you, Trajano.
Thank you, Cecilia.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you enjoy it, make sure that you like it and share it. If you want even more resources on how to be extra effective as internal control professional, check out our website, www.internalcontroltoolbox.com, and subscribe to the email list. Thank you for listening and see you in the next episode.